So have you ever read an article and you thought to yourself, like, I just lost some brain cells and some intelligence after reading it? Well, look no further, because you have found one of those such articles. This right here, Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation is worth watching if you can get over the fan service. So that's just what a loaded title. But before I go any further, I want to thank my good friend Bell here. He's the one that made me aware of this article, and I just want to thank him. Shout out to him. He posted screens, etc., and eventually, get me a link to this article. So with that out of the way, let's talk about this. So, CBR. As you can see, if you look at the site, I'm on CBR, and anyone that has browser, let's say anime, manga, and does Google searches, etc., has probably ran into maybe something from CBR. Like, if I type in CBR anime, let's just see what I see here. Like, they'll have, like, you'll see people talking about this. Like, the community talks about, like, CBR, how bad it is, etc. It's a constant thing, and every time, like, a while back, when I would open up my phone, I would see a notification from CBR, this site. Like, there was one that popped up, I remember, like, late last year, called 10 Reasons Why It's Hard to Get Back into Rewatching Anime, or 10 Harsh Realities of why it is, or how hard it is to get to rewatching anime, something like that. They had, like, an article on Levi can beat Luffy from One Piece. They had stuff with JoJo that just doesn't make any sense. They are known for making just back-to-back bad articles that just do not have any information that makes any sense whatsoever. And so I feel like the community knows them. And obviously, mistakes can happen. I do want to clarify that. I know mistakes can happen. That happens. Everybody's human. Anyone that's behind the screen and writing on their phone, whatever, everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes. And I am willing to give leeway and understand that. And I feel like many can understand people make mistakes. Sometimes they might say the wrong word, etc. However, when it comes to CBR, it's not like maybe one or two mistakes here and there. It's like they're consistently making mistakes with every single article that they make. And it's on a constant. And the information here that is in this article is straight up just like they didn't do any research whatsoever. And that's the big thing. So let's just talk about it. So, fan service. Obviously, this is what the attention's being drawn to when you look at this article, if you can get over the fan service, etc. Why would people use that word, or what is fan service? I think we all know. I mean, it's about, the fan service for people to have eye candy. We know this. And, in some cases, fan service can be bad. I do want to make sure I clarify. Like, in some cases, for manga and anime, light novels, etc., fan service can turn into just outright bad and take away from the world building, the plot, the setup, the character development, etc. It can really take away from what the series is about. And so, yes, sometimes fan service can ruin a series. So, in reality, I understand why someone would make this comment for an anime, but not for Mushoku Tensei. So, I just want to clarify on that regard. Now, let's talk about this first passage. When starting Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation, many audiences might be taken aback by the amount of perverse comments and fan service within the first episodes. Regardless, the series is still worth watching. So they do mention that it's worth watching, but they talk about perverse comments and fan service. Now, for perverse comments, I am inclined to agree. There is a lot of that in Mushoku Tensei. Anyone that says there isn't is lying to you. There is a lot of comments from Rudy as a character and other characters throughout the story of Mushoku Tensei. And it's not just the early stages, it's throughout the story. So, I will agree to that. However, when it comes to fan service, I disagree. Now, obviously they're using this right here with Ghislaine and all that with this picture of her, but in reality, yes, there is fan service in Mushoku Tensei, but nothing that is just outright absurd. That really just goes overboard and is just like, why? This is detracting from everything. It ruins everything throughout the story. There is nothing really like that. Like, there is not an excessive amount of it throughout the story. So, where that argument's coming from, I do not see it. But obviously, let's go a little bit further down. So as we can see here, it talks about how many arcs are covered, like the childhood arc, the home tutor arc, the entry level adventure arc, voyage arc, reunion, homecoming, etc. The anime adaptation speeds through the early chapters of the manga. That right there is absolutely hilarious to me, because anyone that is, let's just say, an anime watcher knows most of the time when, let's say, isekai in general, or anything like, Mushoku Tensei is adapted into an anime, most of the time it comes from a light novel. I feel like everybody understands that one. It's like, you have the light novel, and then maybe you have the manga, and then you have the anime, or you have the light novel, then the anime, then the manga. That's usually how it goes, and that's the thing. When I see this in the article, the early chapters of the manga, it shows that this individual doesn't understand that the story is being adapted from a light novel, whoever wrote this article. But secondly, it also shows that clearly they didn't do the research. It's very quick and easy to understand that they were adapting from the light novel. That blows my mind. I don't know how someone can make that mistake, but it's nothing too serious, but that is still just like, how can you make that mistake? Especially in an article, and when you're trying to put down the series saying it speeds through early chapters of the manga, when we're talking about the light novel. Now, if we go further down, obviously, we have this final segment, which is actually something I want to talk about. It talks about how, Mushoku Tensei sold so many copies, Season 2 adaptations currently in production, etc., etc., and it talks about how many, volumes were adapted. But then if you dive in a little bit deeper, it starts to talk about a movie, and here you go right here. There is a movie in production featuring Eris that is also coming. That is just straight up false. That is straight up false. That's not true. Legitimately, that is not true. That is completely not true. Now, I'm going to just take a pop shot here and assume things. I'm going to assume whoever wrote this article, when they say movie in production, I'm assuming they're meaning an OVA, which is already out, came out, early this year, which was the Eris OVA episode with her slaying goblins. I'm going to assume, I really hope, that the person that wrote this was under the impression of the OVA and not actually a movie, because there is no movie in production, at least from what we're aware of. There's no leaks for it, etc., and anything or any mentioning of a movie, I believe, was very early on in the life cycle of the anime of Mushoku Tensei, and it said it is a possibility, never confirmed or saying it's happening. So, hearing the fact that a movie is in production from CBR, it's like either they have inside source, or they're lying, and I think we know which one it is, especially after back-to-back articles. So, just, the main point I want to talk about is just, this isn't the only case of, obviously, CBR just being outright atrocious with their articles. Like I said, mistakes happen. One article or two articles every so often, fine. I know it happens. It's bad, but it happens. But the fact is that it's a continuous thing. This is not the only time that their articles don't convey proper information. For instance, as I've already kind of laid out here when I started this video, their website pops up on my phone. Like, legitimately, when I open up my phone and I look at notifications, etc., I will see CBR literally pop up. I will see, like, hey, you want to know more about the top 10 anime or whatever, it pops up on my phone as a notification, and I don't read their articles until now, obviously. I don't actively go searching for them until now, obviously, and it's crazy to me that I'm constantly getting notified about them. That's wild to me. And so, if I'm getting notified, I can imagine that there's many others out there that get notified about this, and then they hear, like, a movie is in production, and they get misled. They get straight up misled and don't understand that there actually isn't a movie coming out for Mushoku Tensei. So it's just, overall, this entire thing, in this article and many other articles they made, it just... It's bad, man. It's so bad. It's so bad. I don't understand why these like articles keep getting recommended. Most likely it's because of an algorithm. Since I watch anime, read manga, etc., it pops up. But it's still wild to me that I continuously see stuff like this pop up in my feed, and people obviously will consume this. So just, yeah, wild. Absolutely wild. But I guess I'm going to leave it at that. You all have a wonderful day or not wherever you live. Sorry if you heard my AC throughout this video as well. It's very hot. It's like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is around like 40 degrees Celsius for those that use Celsius. It's extremely hot today, so do forgive me if you hear my AC unit going. But with that though, guys, be safe, stay healthy. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like. And with that, be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.